Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Real Talk with Ben podcast, and I'm so excited that you decided to tune in today. It's kind of gloomy here in Toledoche, Hungary, but I hope wherever you're at, it's nice and sunny. Maybe you get some chance to go outside, or maybe you're just chilling at home with your family, or maybe you're just sitting in your chair watching TV. Whatever you're doing, I'm so happy you decided to tune in and listen. Or watch if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're new, my name is Ben, and this is my podcast where we talk about life. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly sometimes, but we do it with a gospel-centered focus. And that's my goal, is to encourage you with the name of Jesus Christ at the center of everything that I do. And so I'm so happy that you decided to tune in. I hope you will tune in after this, but even if not, I hope you take something away from today. And speaking of today, I actually have an announcement before that. It's not really an announcement, but I mean, it sort of is. As you remember, last episode, I want to again thank Daniel for taking time. He's a very busy guy, and to want to do an episode last week was really awesome. And just like we talked about in that episode, we are starting our YouTube series starting tomorrow on Wednesday. But if you're listening to this not on Tuesday, then it'll be a little weird. But anyways, that's when we're starting it. The YouTube series, which still doesn't have a name. Yeah, we should probably get on that. But until then, get ready for it. The first episode comes out as I'm recording this. I'm recording this on Monday. So most likely, yeah, we don't have it recorded as of now, but obviously when you're listening to this, hopefully we will have it recorded, or we are recording it in the process. But we're really excited about just what we're going to be doing. We really hope that you can learn some things that we'll be able to learn from each other, but also that you'll be able to learn some things, just the basics that, and then also the advanced stuff as we get through that. It's kind of fun because as I'm, talking about this and as I'm excited to start this series, it's kind of funny because I actually just started my new position today at here at Word of Life Hungary. I'm still doing camps this summer, but I'm now part of the marketing team. So I did a video today, which is something you all know I love. And so that was something that was really cool. And it just got me in more of a mood to just share about what I love to do, and hopefully you'll see God in the center of it and how he's opened my eyes to the ministry of multimedia. And so that's what's going to be happening starting tomorrow on my YouTube channel. So the Bowden Experience. So go ahead and tune in on there if you want to see some of that, or if you're interested in some of that. But today I wanted to talk about, I don't know, like as the coronavirus is, I mean, it's obviously not over, but as at least the country of Hungary is getting back to normal, as the best you can with still precautions and stuff. But as we're getting back to there, it's given me time to think, and I'm allowed to leave the castle now. As I've been joking with people, I'm out of house arrest. I can go to the store when I want, still with mask and stuff like that. But those kind of things, it made me reflect, and it made me really just think about life during the quarantine for me, which was almost 2 whole months. And really, I guess it gave me a different perspective on ministry. It gave me a different perspective on life. And so I wanted to share with you maybe just a few ways that, God has used this to help me, help grow me, but also ways that I hope you may be able to see, God's blessing in all of this. For me, I arrived here in Hungary, in March, the very beginning of March, and within 2 weeks, we were sending students home. We were all these different things, and for me, it was a shock and awe. It was kind of like it didn't really hit me until literally probably a week and a half later, when everything was like, okay, it's settled down and literally there's no one here. And then once we sent staff home, it even got more real for me. And so I always tell people that was the moment when I realized, like, oh, this is real. It's not just some, fake idea or just something that's not, happening. And whatever side you're on, whether you believe that people are overreacting or whether you believe that it's a very serious thing, I always tell people it's still a disease. No matter if you feel like people overreact or whatever, it still is it might not be a high percentage, but it still can kill somebody and but obviously make someone very ill. And so when this all started, I kind of have a weird spot, and I'm not one to really share opinions without really understanding what my opinion is. And I realize now after a couple months that I honestly, at the beginning, was kind of one of those boats of like, okay, this is not a big deal. But then I saw the effects and I saw how it affected people and especially some people that have different respiratory issues and stuff like that. It made it more real for me. And so I guess I challenge people. I guess I specifically challenge, maybe people that think that this wasn't a big deal or people have overreacted, that maybe just, think about the severity of it for somebody outside of your shoes. Maybe you are a young person like me who you're like, oh, this probably won't affect you, but you still can be a carrier, as, our director tells us all the time. But anyways, that's besides the point. But I want to start there because that's how long it's been. It's been 2 months of being in quarantine and then slowly, leaving quarantine. And I want to start out with the biggest thing I've learned. The biggest thing I've learned through quarantine and through the coronavirus, the COVID-19 era, as I'm calling it, is that God will still bless those who serve him, even in times of crisis. And I've seen that in my own life, and I've seen that here at Word of Life Hungry. I guess I'll start with Word of Life Hungry. Many might think, well, you send your students home, you basically cancel ministries and you don't know about camps. Man, it must really suck to be an organization, but God has been faithful. God allowed us during this quarantine, during the coronavirus time to, I think, take time with our families. Missionaries take time with their families and spend time with them that maybe they don't normally have. Also, maybe getting more work done or preparing more work. I'm yawning again. Ugh. I'm sorry. That's awful. Anyways, getting back to it. Yeah, and preparing for maybe things in the future. And I also know if you watch my YouTube videos, we had work days, and that was another big thing. Like, this wouldn't have happened if we still have students here. Like, this place would still be looking like it was when I got here. Just a lot of weeds, a lot of overgrown shrubs and trees, and but God has given us the time to cut away those things, to make it look good, to take care of something that he has given us. Which is something I think I didn't realize really until the end, was like, wow, like, God, you've blessed us with this time. And as the coronavirus is ending, obviously we're all not out there as much. Like, I wasn't even out there today, but there's still that motivation of like, let's just keep going. Let's try to do as many days as we can until obviously camps come. And I think Word of Life Hungry has also been able to impact in other ways, like our chapels that we have for our online chapels during the coronavirus are being used by a church for their Bible, their missions conference and their Bible conference. And it's like, it's little things. It might not be big things. It might not be big ministries or big church groups coming in or having, a ton of students here, but it's the idea of like, okay, as a organization and as a ministry, we're still able to help and to reach, those that need to be reached. And I mean, I even think about the podcast that the camp team started. Like, during the coronavirus, these kids are locked away, and they're not locked away. That sounds terrible, but they're up in their houses, and this gives them something to listen to, and allows them to have, some joy of listening to something about Christ. And so that's the way, I really think, God is still blessing those that serve him, even through a time of crisis. And for me, I think in my own life, I think God has really blessed me with the opportunity to, and I think my way of looking at it is a little different, is the sense that, God really opened my eyes to things in my life that I didn't realize that either I struggled with or that I realized I wanted to do more of. And, God blessed me with time to spend more time in his word, to read more, to mentor a couple of young guys, to even stepping out of my comfort zone. And I look at all those as blessings, as a way of saying, like, God's really used this time of coronavirus to challenge me, to grow me. And it's really been a very interesting couple months. That's to say the least. And so that's what I want to start with, was just like, that's something that God has taught me, is like, he's still going to be there. He's still going to bless those that put him first and that still, live for him and try to do ministry. That's a big thing that I learned. And I think there's always tons of things. And, I was thinking about even, as I went downtown, a few times, these past couple weeks, going to the shop and buying some things, seeing people's joy on their faces, I think just to being, around and, just being a part of life almost again, it feels like, really help remind me of relationships and the importance of them. And I think during this COVID-19, I've been able to do that both here and abroad. I've been able to, call back home and to spend time with friends and, but being able to go into town and, see these, people hugging, which they probably shouldn't be, but hugging and saying hi to each other in a language I don't even know, but you see the joy on their faces. You see these people say, these are the people I love to be around, and I can see them again. And I think that goes for all of us. I know there was a moment near the end of our quarantine where I was like, okay, I just need to see people other than the people I've been living with for, 8 weeks or 7 weeks. And that's true. And I think relationships are something that I've really learned. And that I think many people, and maybe you've taken that for granted. You're just like, I'm lonely, or man, this sucks. I'm just stuck with my family, or I'm stuck with my friends or my roommate, or maybe you're stuck by yourself. Whatever way you can view it differently. If you're stuck with your friends, you're like, okay, I'm starting to get annoyed. Stuck with your family, like, I just don't want to be with my family. Or you're alone, you're like, there's no one around. Whatever way you look at it, the same, I guess, consensus comes with that. It's that it goes back. God's blessed you with this time. Use it. Spend time. If you're by yourself in a sort of way I was, spend the time with God and spend time with, FaceTime. God's given us this 21st century of FaceTime and of Facebook Messenger and video chat and all these different things. We have to be willing to use those and to connect with those relationships and to make those relationships even better. And so, that's a big thing that I've just been noticing lately, is just relationships and the power of relationships and the power of a good, good believers around each other. And that's really, really cool. And so that's another big way I think I've seen, really what this COVID-19, I guess, has affected me in that sense, and I guess I don't know if this is really a way, but I know for me personally, I struggled with a lot of frustration at God. I really struggled with, like, I almost was angry at times. Like, God, like, I came to serve you. I've put, my life, basically, I've set that aside and said, hey, I'm going to go and I'm going to serve you. And asking all those questions, like, why now? Like, why didn't you just, if this was going to happen, why didn't I just stay home or whatever? And like, those were my first couple thoughts. And to be honest, throughout the whole COVID-19, the quarantine, like, those still became around my head, was like, I can't even see my good friends here. I just feel like I'm stuck in this pattern. I'm hanging out here. And that definitely really something I struggled with, and it was something that was real. And I say that because I think a third thing that I've learned through this COVID-19 is that, you can't be angry at God because something doesn't go the way you planned. And I know that sounds obvious, and probably to a lot of us that you're like, dude, Ben, that's obvious. God's, and he's got the best plan. But I want you to look at your life and especially these last, few months and say, like, have you been totally satisfied with what God is doing? Have you not been mad once? Because I can't look back and say, you know what, I've been happy with what's going on. For the most part, I've been angry. I've been upset at God because I felt like I for 6 months, I was raising support and preparing myself, and I come over here and I'm excited, and in the 2 weeks I got to meet so many new students and everything, and then with a snap of a finger, boom, it all changes. And I think that is what's so crazy is that I guess that we think that our reasoning, our ways are better than what God is. After sermon that we've heard saying, hey, God's ways are perfect, God's ways are better, we still in our own minds believe, well, this is how I had it planned. This is what I wanted to do. This is how I wanted this to happen. And we forget that God is a God of He's a God that is just so amazing. I can't even put it to words. He's just a God so amazing that his plan will always be perfect. No matter how bad we think it is, he finds a way to come out of it and say, look, this is for my glory. What you think is wrong and what you think isn't right is for my glory. I think it's so easy to get wrapped up in, well, it doesn't sort of fit. Like, God, could you let me have maybe a little bit of my plan and then you could fill in the rest? I mean, that's like asking God to be half God. No, there is no half God. God is fully God. And he's full of grace and faithfulness. He's going to be faithful to you no matter what. I say that after every episode. I say that after every video, is that God is faithful and you can trust him for a reason. And I was reminded of that as I was going through my friend Campbell's poems, as I was reading the scriptures. Everything came back to that my God has a greater plan than I ever knew and I'll ever know. And COVID-19 was in his plan. COVID-19 was something that he saw and said, you know what, it's going to happen. And I know it's going to happen, and I want to see how my people respond. Are they going to draw closer to me, or are they going to run from me? And I'm going to be honest, it was very tough sometimes to not go like, God, like you're ruining everything I wanted it to be here. But I say this because I'm about to get back to a blessing. This almost ties it back into the blessings of people that serve him. But, that's number 3, is the idea that I think I've learned that the anger and stuff that I had towards God is not what it should have been. And the last thing is this, is that, like I just said, God's plan will always be for his glory. And those who follow him, going back to number 1, those who follow him, those who put their trust in him, those who are living out their faith, God will bless them, that those who do this consistently and all the time. And I saw that in my own life. About halfway through, I remember just saying, okay, God, this is what you have. I'm going to work out in the forest. I'm going to chop trees. I'm going to do those things. I'm going to be the best I can to these guys here, the girls here. Obviously I wasn't perfect, but I was trying my best. And, God has allowed me now this coming summer here to do things that I love to do. If you know me, I love sports. I loved working with children, and I love video editing, and I love doing video. And this summer I'm going to be able to do sports here on the property, be the sports coordinator, and work with children, and work with volunteers, and to be hands-on and to do something that I love and that I've spent years and years doing. And I love doing it. And then I also recently was just named to be a part of the marketing team and to be able to help with video for camps this summer. And it's so cool because I look back and I said of how frustrated I was at God and saying, God, I don't see what you're doing. I'm angry at him. To then see God flip the script on me and say, no, I'm still God, and I know your desires. I know what you were hoping for. And yes, originally everything looked like it wasn't going to be good, but remember that I am God. And remember that I bless those who put their trust in me and that who honor me with everything that they do. And, that is something that I truly have taken away from this COVID-19 is, surviving COVID-19 was really just having faith in what God is doing. So I want to say that again. Surviving COVID-19 for me was having faith in what God was doing. And it's truly awesome. It's that cool feeling of like, oh, wow, I really doubted God. And then he's so faithful anyways that he's just going to be God, and that's what's so cool. And so I think that's what I hope you take away from this conversation is not that, Ben had a whole bunch of issues or that Ben struggled with something, because let's be honest, we've all struggled something through COVID-19. We've struggled with loneliness. We've struggled with, financial situations. We've struggled with different things wherever we're at in the world. But God has been there the whole time, and he knew this was going to happen. This is part of his plan. He knew this was going to happen years ago, before anything else anybody knew. And so, yeah, I think surviving COVID-19 will definitely go down in the history books. I'll be able to tell my grandchildren that I survived a pandemic, that I survived, I survived yawning, obviously. Sorry, Grandma. No, but, it's just going to be one of those things where I think it's cool in the sense that, I'm able to see God's faithfulness. And it's still tough. I still know friends that are struggling financially, organizations are struggling financially, both Christian and non-Christian. And it is tough, but at the same time, God is going to be faithful to those who put their trust in him and those who live a life of obedience to him. And that's what I want to challenge you all with is I want you to maybe look back at this COVID-19 time and write down some things that you've learned or things that you didn't realize about yourself. And maybe thank God for teaching you those things. Thank God for the blessings in your life. I'm blessed that my family has been healthy, that I have friends here that take care of me, that I have an organization that is taking care of me during this time, that I have friends back home that I can talk to. There's so many more things to be thankful for instead of always looking at the bad of the COVID-19 and looking at all the negative things we read and those things, but look at the good. Maybe you have extra time with your family that you haven't had in years, or maybe you've been able to have those talks with those friends that you thought you would never be able to have. Or maybe it's simply you're able to talk to that friend on the phone that needs to know Christ, and you have that time. Or maybe it's just reading a book, reading the Bible through. Whatever it's been, count those as blessings. So surviving COVID-19 is not only looking at the blessing that God's given you, but surviving COVID-19 is looking towards Christ and living for him and reminding yourself every day that he is faithful to those who follow him and that put their trust in him. And it's so cool. I say that time and time again, that through my life, God has been so faithful to me, and I know he's going to continue to be faithful to me as long as I keep living for him. So yeah, I don't know why I wanted to share that today. I think it was on my heart. It was one of those things that I think going down to the store today and just seeing people and seeing the joy of people even just conversations here of just people being excited that, we're getting back to normal. But let's not forget this time. let's not forget, and maybe things that you started during coronavirus time, during the COVID-19 time, maybe you keep doing and challenge yourself to do more Bible study or whatever. But let us not forget this COVID-19 time. Instead, let us remember how faithful our God is and how amazing our God is, because he truly, truly is. And so once again, I want to remind you as we finish this episode up to tune in to my YouTube, The Bowden Experience tomorrow. I don't know exactly what time it will drop your time, but it will be out tomorrow. It will be our Daniel and I's first episode of whatever we're going to call it. Still thinking of a name, but we're super excited. So tune into that if you want to know about what we're going to talk about, or maybe you like cameras, you like photography or videography, tune in. But if you have a friend, if you have a father or a mother or a sister or brother or a friend that just loves that kind of stuff, share it with them. We really would love that feedback and that, that the viewership of people that enjoy what we do. So once again, thank you so much for listening. If you listen on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, go ahead and favorite this podcast. That will allow you to stay in touch with when every episode comes out every Tuesday and Thursday. And if you listen on YouTube, go ahead and click that thumbs up button and go ahead and click that subscribe button, and then make sure you hit that notification bell. So that way you can tune into episodes like this or of the new series that's coming out on Wednesdays starting tomorrow. So once again, I just wanted to say thank you so much for your support in my journey through media, serving Christ here in Hungary. And I want to remind you once again that God is faithful and you can trust him. And as always, we'll talk next time.